good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening. Heavenly Father, we give you praise, we give you glory, we give you honor. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for wisdom. We thank you for knowledge. Holy Spirit, as we study, give me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I decrease and you increase. I'm just a vessel. Give me the right articulation of words. I pray for every man and woman is supposed to be here. Lord, touch their hearts, to direct them, to tune in for the glory of your name. I give you praise, my Father. I give you glory. I give you honor. Thank you so much. As we study, let your will be done. Let your love prevail. We worship you. We glorify your name because you're good. We worship your name because you're awesome. In Jesus' mighty name we believe and pray. Amen. Jesus, Jesus, love you are the living sister. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Then go. Hope you enjoyed your. I believe women should be celebrated daily. That is me. I don't know what others think, but I think they should be celebrated daily. Same as men, they should also be celebrated daily. But then go. I believe women should be celebrated daily. Women should be celebrated daily. Men should be celebrated daily because they work hand in hand. They go hand in hand. One is a result of another, and vice versa. A woman gives birth to all. A man just releases. From a man you get a woman, but from a woman you can get both a man and a woman through reproduction, right? Good. galako kumpitirideko gakulungi gakunjinyo okwakuleta kunsi kuno nokutu excuse me. Go where you are, echo gossam. Oh, go guntuma, bulijo. Oh, go gukuma. Tambulanga sitya. Olw'omusaayi gwayika n'atukula dda ekigambo kyo Yesu mwe muli amaanyi agogega kuma bulijjo agogega kuma ekisa kyo kimpitiriddeko gakirungi gakingi nnyo oyontewagana obulamu netutukuzibwa bulijjo netutukuzibwa tambulanga sitya olw'omusaayi ogwayika n'atukula dda ekigambo kyo Yesu mwe muli amaanyi agogega kuma bulijjo agogega kuma agogega kuma bulijjo. Wow. Liana of Gilead, run, you are my peace in the you're my peace in the midst of the storm. You're the air I breathe. Oh, have you ever had questions which don't have answers? Women in service. There are many things I see it and think, and I'm like, how did we get here? You know, for you to get to the bottom of something, when you're working and you're the air I breathe, oh Lord, you need to know the root cause of something before you solve it, before you're supposed to diagnose something before you give it medication. There are many things I think about, and as you're walking in life and you get exposed and you make friends along the way, now you who still have young children, I want to encourage you on something. We are being raised differently. We come from different homes, right? Our fathers are different and our mothers are different. We come from different lineages. We have a different bloodline. But when we give our lives to Christ, if you've really, really given your life to Christ, I believe there should be a change, right? When we give our lives to Christ, you hear the word giving your life to Christ. The word is you give your life to Christ, right? When you give your life to Christ, you're totally supposed to give your life to Christ. You're totally supposed to give your life to Christ. COVID season has opened a big hole. You know when you've been using that road like on a daily basis and you did not know that there is a hole in the road. Then one time it rained so hard. It rains so hard. And when it rains, the water moves, right? The water will move. It will flow depending on the terrain, depending on which, like, the terrain is how the ground is made. Is it up or down? Is it slanting? Is it sloping? Is it flat? And when COVID came in my life and my journey, it rained so hard that the terrain of the ground on which I walk, the ground was like slanting, right? And on that ground, I have been working with very many people, very, very many people, because of school, because of church, because of family, because of work in different capacities. So when it rained, it washed away the soil. When it washed away the soil, I thought I was walking on a straight ground, but the ground ain't straight. It opened, and I found out that we just say we gave our lives to Christ, but we did not totally surrender. Giving your life to Christ and surrendering your life, those are two different things. Each one of us stayed with something. I did not know that people I've walked with, I've grown up with, can wake up and do certain things. When I was growing up, I thank God I went to school. I don't take that for granted. And before I went to school, you play around with kids at home. You know, when I see that I don't understand things, I go back where it all started from. You know, when we are reading the Bible, it tells us to go back to the first love. And if you're having issues in your relationship, if you love your relationship and you think it's worth saving, because I believe when you tell someone you love them, you have to go back to where it all started from to understand what is wrong and what happened. And me, I thank God I grew up with both parents, and not just present parents. You know, there is growing up with people, but when they're absent, they are there, but they are physically there, but they're emotionally not there, psychologically, spiritually. Some people have parents physically, but their parents are not present spiritually, they're not present socially, they're not present. When a child grows up in an area when their father or mother is not present spiritually, that is a very, very, very big hole. If your father and mother are not present spiritually, They don't emphasize going to church. They don't emphasize read the word. They don't emphasize walking right. Because most of the time the parents are also struggling with their own spiritual lives, right? If your parent is not physically, socially, your social life will have a bend, will have issues. It will be like a wave. There are people who don't know how to socialize. If your parents are not present mentally, you're going to have mental issues. That one I'll assure you. Because they will not know how to handle you. I pray to the Lord that your parents or the current generation, you're physically present in your child's life, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Every child has a right to be supported physically, to be supported spiritually, to be supported mentally, to be supported socially and financially. There are 5. Every child should have that. If you raise that child having the 5, it will be very easy for that child to, whatever the child grows up knowing and doing, they'll spread it out there. Because as a child, you're a flower. You see, when a plant is growing, it brings a head and it sprouts. So when it is growing like this, for you to know that it's a rose, it will spread like this, then you know it's a rose. Does it have thorns or not? That means the thorns, the everything, it comes from ground. It's from the parents. It's from the parents. It has to either be from the mother or the father. It is one thing I found out. I I don't need to go to school to do certain things. When you have the Holy Spirit, you ask the questions, He answers. The way parents do their things, it influences the child's life. And when after being influenced at home, you're being influenced in school. Because after having that time, of course, all the time it's mama, tata, and church. Then, of course, when we come to relatives and family, that also happens. First time I stayed away from my parents, I cried so much. They took me to stay with my grandmother, mother to my dad. It wasn't easy. It took a while to fit in. It wasn't very easy. It took a while. They had to. My dad's sister had to do a lot with me. That one, I'll be honest. They had to do a lot with me because I cried throughout. I remember I spent the night coughing like there is no tomorrow. And that made me fear my auntie so much because when I'm crying, I don't like people to talk. Even when I'm old in age. When I'm going through something, I don't want to be blamed or I don't want you to talk. Naturally, I don't like it. So when I cried so much, it went beyond, and because I don't like being when I'm going through something. I've worked with very many people going through a hard time, and most of the times I just listen, then later I advise. When someone is hurting, when someone is going through something, you don't shout at them. Don't shout at them and tell them to stop crying. You need to let them release whatever it is. Then later, you listen, you find out why is this person crying? Why are they going through? I know there is what they call tough love, but we all do it differently. But sometimes we do it in a way that tips off people and destroys people. I've gone through something because I'm trying to understand why people do certain things. I've gone through things where I haven't been given an opportunity to express myself. Whoever wants to help you, they stand on their ground to help. When you're helping someone going through a hard time, you don't stand on your ground. And it's very unfortunate for someone to be struggling with with themselves emotionally when the people who would have helped are the cause of someone's failing emotionally and physically and socially. And it's very, people don't want to take full responsibility of their actions in people's lives. When you see, when the devil wants to destroy you, he looks for a point to hold on to and hang on to. It becomes a tick. A tick does not just come on someone's body. If it did, we would all have ticks. But there is always, let me use the word, like when I put honey somewhere and I smear myself with honey, you're going to see small insects coming over, right? Now there are things we do in people's lives that bring the devil to attach himself. Some it's people, some it's us who are doing like yourself. Why is it that it's very easy to affect people emotionally, to do things that break people's hearts? And when people are struggling and trying to find themselves, then you come out and you tell them, you advise them, you motivate them of you're strong, you have to come out, but it's you who caused it. That person can only heal faster if you take full responsibility of your actions in their lives. Why is it that the word sorry is very, very hard? Many people are struggling emotionally, mentally, physically, socially, financially, because there is someone who did something and they did not uproot it. To a point, I've seen people block me and I'm like, wow. Why are they blocking me? They're blocking me because of the gospel, and they are also in service. They are in church. Which, your churches, do they teach you to ignore people? I'm trying to understand. I work with people who serve. My life, I work with people who serve. Because we are struggling, the devil is using those grounds to destroy people, because the love of Christ is not in our hearts. If you say you gave your life fully to the Lord, who are you serving? When you tell me you're taking care of mothers, depressed people, mentally disturbed people, do you know that the leading cause of depression and mental issues is caused by us, the human beings, to our fellow human beings? You cannot isolate someone and you think they'll be stable mentally. One of the biggest medication to people who are disturbed, either their health, their socials, even spiritual life, love is medicine. I've taken care of different people who are going through hard things, and all I did was to be present. Each one heals differently. Each one handles things differently. The biggest thing I have seen that people do for you is to use you. When they get what they want, they say they love you. Now, when I came out and I told people the bad they do, that they've been doing and neglecting, they withdrew like this, and some even blocked me. And most of these are leaders. I'm like, if there is nothing wrong you're doing, why are you ignoring me? Yet you used to say hello. You used to involve me in the things you do. I'm trying to understand, because people have taken their lives because of such things. The devil has sat in that thing and has destroyed us. Because when you're someone who fully gives your life to Christ, you give your emotions to Christ, because Christ sits inside of us to serve. God sits inside of us to serve and love people on an equal level. If you tell me that you are a leader to women, you are a leader to men, you are a leader for all. A leader is supposed to listen. A leader does not ignore. Oh, okay, you're just a leader to a few. You were not trained to be a leader for all. you are a leader for few. Because a leader for all, it does not matter who you are. On condition you're a human being. And as a leader, you're supposed to listen. Let us read about this woman. Everyone is in service in their own capacity. You know, when you're raising children, train them to be leaders of all. And train them, if I see very many people who want leadership positions, but unfortunately they can't handle. Our leaders are not servants. They want us to serve them. Leadership, to many people, it's about sitting in the high position, being on the front line. Leaders don't go to the front line. Leaders make sure, and I think some of you are used to the small circles. You're not used to big circles. Some of you are just used to handle one person at a time. You're used to handle just that small group. You see, not everyone can be a president of a nation. Because if you're president of a nation, you're going it's like in the sea. There is there is fish, there are snakes, there are snails. Everything is in there. There are hippopotamuses. People also come to the sea. And you have to be in charge of everything. We learn to be leaders through knowing God. When you get to know who Christ is, you will be the best leader ever. The character of Jesus was very interesting. Jesus served all. There is a time I wrote something that love goes everywhere, but it only settles where it is appreciated. It only stays where it is appreciated. Jesus was like an ingredient for God to bring back people to himself. I want us to look at this woman. She served. Everyone serves in their capacity, and everyone serves the way they know. Some people are serving because of how they are trained at work. So they bring their mentality of service from work and they bring it to church. And some get their mentality from some, because she or he is a firstborn, they think that qualifies you to be a leader. Unfortunately, you're just a leader for the small pack of your siblings. You don't know how to love beyond your siblings. I know very many people who are like that. And when they are around other people, with time, time dictates, time shows you who someone is. The time I have spent with very many people, I have seen how strong they can be. I have seen who can work under pressure. I have seen many people. Some say that someone is selfless. There are people, they are not selfless. They are keeping up appearance. It's the word I'll use. Because if you're a leader and you are a servant, you love people no matter what. And when you love people, you give them time. That position of a leader is very interesting. You give them time. You should be in a position whereby you have that time. God is the one who gives the time. When God qualifies you as a leader, somehow you'll have that time. Recently, we buried a father, one of the old fathers in Uganda. He was a footballer at the same time. He was many things. And somehow he had all that time for people. The time he had for people, people didn't have that time. He's a man who walked, and wherever he went, he impacted people in an amazing way. He cared for people so much. By the time he's kind of burnt out, we worry now. I understand we worry so much about ourselves and we neglect God's work. We come first. During creation, man did not come first. Man came later, completely later. When God had completed creation on the seventh day, he looked around and there was no man to till the ground. But we are being parented or raised to come first. I have seen that with parents. They come first. It's about them. I'll give you an example which is mesmerizing. I always see it in church. We get visitors, right? And after the visitor when the visitor finishes to preach, I always see pastors bring their small family to meet the visitor before other people do that. And this pastor makes sure the visitor is friends with the family first. Now when other people come, there is a way they look, and it I am sorry, I've seen these things in community and in society, and I'm like, wow. After like 20 people or 10, the pastor says the visitor is tired, he's going to rest. They have a conference, right? The whole week. Even getting a contact for that visitor. If you want it, you have to go through the pastor. They put a cage. You know, God works with people. God works with people. God sits in people's lives. God sits in a man to operate. Because man is a media, used by God and used by the devil. We have put God in a cage in our lives in an amazing way. Family comes first, but when it's time to serve God, it is God first in my life. And I grew up seeing that in my father's house. That's why I know very many people. Because my dad served. All I saw while growing up was him serving. He served his family. He served the church. My dad's friends were supposed to be in church. Because me, I got to know my dad when he's already served. I'll say when he was 28, I was 0. Of course, as a child, you'll always feel the presence of your parents. It's inborn. But all my life, I saw him serving. I saw him go overboard. I saw him do things that others, as a leader, you're supposed to be in position to do things that others don't do. Because that's what makes you a leader. My dad was once a Sunday school teacher. My dad was once a leader for the drama group. He was once a youth leader. Then, of course, the elder in church. He handled all of them. And I happen to carry such traits. I want you to help your children because the grounds I am treading on, if I wasn't raised like that, I wouldn't have handled. But because the backbone of a leader was strong, many leaders have broken down because no one can help them. Leaders break down very fast, and leaders go through a lot of things. Because responsibility is on your shoulders. Your lifestyle has to change as a leader. You have to be an example. When you stand and tell people to love people, work with people, welcome visitors, as a leader, you don't destroy people. But I've worked with leaders who destroy people's lives. And they don't apologize for it. They don't take full responsibility for it. As a leader, you don't pick your phone and tell someone not to talk to someone. That is not a leader. To me, that ain't a leader. To me, that is just someone's father or someone's mother, someone's husband or someone's wife. And everyone, when we grow up, everyone is someone's father, someone's mother, everyone is someone's husband, someone's wife, or someone's girlfriend, or someone's boyfriend. But to me, that is not a leader. A leader who covers sin, a leader who cannot settle conflicts, that is not a leader. That is just a human being around who wants to know what is happening, where, here. A leader, you don't choose sides. I look at Moses' life. Moses ran away from Egypt when he was 40. And Moses came back when he was 80 years of age. People who are 80 years old in our generation, most of them are tired. Moses served God with his family. Miriam and Aaron were related to Moses. Moses' children were not with him. Basically, when Moses was walking, he was walking as a servant, a man in service. And when he was doing that, the family affairs were not there. But remember, the people he was leading were Israelites, so it's family at the end of the day. But it wasn't because he was coming from a different tribe. He was coming from the Levites. But God chose him out. And he was trained for it. The Lord allowed Moses to grow up in the house of Pharaoh because he was leading kings. They come from priestly royalty. Moses, his family, Israel, comes from royalty. So, because they were in slavery, when God chooses you, he trains you. Moses was trained in royalty. My class has changed again. How nice is that? Let us look at this woman. Let's go to the book of God looks at a family and sees what family can handle what, when, where, and how. I'm going to be a little bit fast, then we'll pause here and there and talk about different issues. My class was something else, but the Bible says that those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. I'm going to start from verses 1, Exodus chapter 1. This is the second book of Moses, commonly called the Exodus. In my local language, it means okuva, when you're moving from one level to another. And people who do move are immigrants, meaning you're in a place that you don't belong and you're supposed to move. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob. Each came with his household. Reuben, Simon, Levi, and Judah. Those 4 boys were from one woman. We have Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. All the descendants of Jacob were 70 people. Joseph was already in Egypt. Then Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. Verse 7. But the Israelites were prolific and increased greatly. They multiplied and became extremely strong, so that the land was filled with them. We all know that increment comes with the reproduction of human beings, meaning women and men were knowing each other. The Bible calls it to know someone. But in our simple terms, when 2 people love each other, some they don't love each other, some rape each other to get children. Yes, a man and a woman, I'm talking about a man and a woman. When a man and a woman lies together and they become intimately involved and they make love, let me use that word which is polite, they make love. Some make love not intentionally going to get babies. That's why some will dress up, will use a condom or something. Some don't mind about using condoms because sometimes they are under the influence of alcohol. Some, because it's not the time to have whatever they are having, they end up having a child when they are not ready. It is because our parents, yes, I'm going to generalize it, they have not prepared the children to tell them the dangers of having sex which is unprotected, of having sex outside marriage, of having sex when it's not yet time. Being old in age does not give you permission to have sex anytime you want it. That body of yours, it is you who starts something. When you start something, the body gets used to it. Something you've not started, you will not know. Adam and Eve did not know that we are naked. Not until you go in a wrong place at a wrong time. There were instructions given. As a parent, I expect you to give your children instructions, but not as a command. Those are principles. Allow your children to understand things. We discussed things with my parents before we discussed them with other people. And they made sure they don't play with our innocence. I have seen parents play with the innocence of their children. Our parents did not play with my let me not talk about only myself. They did not play with my innocence. But don't forget, we have a bloodline. And if there are things that happened in your bloodline, they are going to visit your children. It's called a bloodline. So, it is you as a father and a mother to understand what bloodline is all about and what altars are all about. It is you as a mother and a father to be the game changer. You need to know how you came into existence as a person, the things that happened between your parents. Those things are going to help you. I've seen parents say it is not important how a child comes into existence. I'm like, pastors, what are you teaching people? What do you mean it's not important? How are these people going to solve the problems they are going through? You think when you pray for them and you tell them, now Esther, you will be well, and they just walk away. It goes beyond just praying for me that I'll be well. You need to go to the root cause of the problem for the problem to be diagnosed. I've been prayed for my whole life, by the way. My whole life. Most of the churches or the pastors I know, it's because I met them because of my bad health. Those are not my churches. My home church is Cabo. The pastors I know, some are already dead. Their churches I know. Unfortunately, the love of Jesus that was in those churches back in them days is not the love of Jesus now. Back in the day, pastors were very available. Or because they were poor. And it was about serving God only. It wasn't about them wanting to go abroad, buying cars, building houses. Who was the biggest house, the biggest car, the biggest chichi, the biggest wife, the biggest husband. The children who have gone abroad, who have studied. Every father wants to show off their children. Unfortunately, the character is not worked on. And these pastors, leaders love fronting their children in everything. Is that what a servant does? When you have a team you work with, before you get to that big church, you learn to serve while you are at home with your children. But you need to understand, when you go to church, that those are not your children. Those are people who come from all walks of life, who are going through different things. Some pastors or some leaders handle the teams they lead as if they're handling the children at home. The way you shout at your child, you cannot do that to another person's child. And most of the old people who shout at people, it is because their own fathers used to do that or their own mothers. Because those are things you adapt to when you're growing up like this. I try as much as I can, even when I'm annoyed. When some people don't understand why I go silent when I'm not happy. I am avoiding, I am fighting the other side the devil wants to use, because you have a bloodline. When you are walking in life, you go through deliverance until when you die. Because the devil keeps on checking on you. He asks for permission to check on you. We don't put these things in our body. Yeah, I come from a family where anger goes overboard. And these things are brought by the animals we call our clans. I told you the things that influence your life. Those who have been following and attending class. Those tribes you come from, those clans you have. They influence your character in a way that you don't know. Why should I have a totem of an animal? They copied the family of Jacob, the tribes of Israel. For them, they were names. It was about the names. Now for us, it has the names, then the animals. I'm like, man, I look at the animals, and the characteristic of that animal is embedded in someone's life. The characteristic of that animal is embedded inside our bones, especially the Buganda culture. I look at people, and because we've not gone through deliverance, the thing is still rising. The way the animal behaves. Look at yourselves. Whatever I'm talking about, you will only see it if God has called you to serve in particular areas. Some pastors are like, why are you so picky? Why do you go there? Pastor, you were not called in that area. We different. And your people are missing out. As a leader, you're supposed to pay attention and focus. That's the only time you're going to help people. Because you did not raise these people. If you failed with your own children, what about us who went to your child? Many people have struggled with me. First of all, they don't have time. When you don't have time, you cannot work with people. As a leader, you have to be in position to give the time. I know time is your life. Time is not money. Time is your life. But if you're not ready to serve, you can never be a leader. These people multiplied because they were blessed. The blessing comes from Abraham. His blessing was to be multiplied. When you read Genesis chapter 12, the blessing just came and blew. Ooh! So even when it's time to give birth, for them giving birth was easy. That is what a blessing does. You're supposed to be blessed in all areas of your life. If you've not gotten there, my friend, you need to work harder on your spiritual life, because that's where the blessing comes from. Some people think they are blessed when they see they have cars. They call that a blessing. My friend, that is not a blessing. How did you get that car? If you're the type who borrows money to buy a car, if you're the type who borrows money to build a house, that is not a blessing. You borrow money to travel. My friend, that is not a blessing. A blessing happens when the door just opens and you enter like this. That is a blessing. I'm just giving you a pinch of a blessing. The door just opens and you enter like this when you've put in nothing. Some of you think that because you've traveled abroad. How did you go abroad? How did you go abroad? How did you get that job? Yes, you married early or you got married early. How is it? How is that marriage? Most of you are married because of matchmakers. And when there is a matchmaker in there, whether you love the man or not, you have to stick in there. Nze nakugamba nze sifumbirwa musajja wa kusabira. Omusajja alina okunsabira. Ate tubeera nga tusabira musajja, tumusabira kyolufuluma nga mutima gutandika. Amaaso gambeera mu ngalo ssaawa bina. You call that a blessing? Abakyala abalina abasajja nga bw'afuluma omutima gw'omukyala gumubeera wamu, oba omusajja ayogedde n'abakazi 8 oba yakoze eki n'emikwano gye. Abakyala abali blessed are not insecure. Abaami abali blessed, they are not insecure. Kati ndi kumukisa. Oli awo omusajja omuteeka mu nkwawa bw'olingirizaako oyogera naani oyogera gundi. Ebyo you think you're blessed. Oh please. Abakazi abali blessed. They are always secure. Era wookwatira ku musajja we Katonda bw'akuba ggwe ebisigadde simanyi gye tugenda kubisa. Nze kasita nsanga omuwala ng'agamba omusajja oyo yogera naye waaki? Gwe va ku musajja wange abo. I just know they are lucky. Bali ku Jackpot. Yo sigenda nayo nkulaba bulabi ne ngamba baba Jackpot life. Ne ngamba okay, mujja kuba bulungi. Otuuka mu maka g'abantu abalina omukisa. N'oyingira n'otuula ne weebaka nga mukyala w'omu maka takweraliikiridde. Mpulira ntu ng'agamba ali blessed. N'otunula n'omugamba blessing kijja ogambako. Eri abakyala ng'ayambala mwami we namugamba baby tetugende naga amukwano genda leero sikiwulira. Omulala agamba maama nina okugenda omusajja wange bamubbe. Abo abasajja ab'okubba mubasangawa. That ain't a blessing. When God blesses you with a man, abawo weka, that man amaaso ge tegambeera mu ngalo, tatunula bbali. omuwala ne bw'ayitawo afaanana atya. Katonda bw'akulondera guba mukisa. N'agamba oyo oli yamusobola. Kati kankubulireko omusajja ne bw'aba nga muvundu atya naye nga yoyo Katonda gwakulondedde yahe. Era bw'amala oterera mu layini bw'ati. When that man sleeps and wakes up like this n'akulaba nga Katonda yamuwadde otulo ne yebaka n'atunula bw'ati. I pity some people. That's why I just keep quiet. Omanyi buli omu alina engeri gy'ategeera ebintu bye. Bwanga bw'akirowooza bw'akirabira bw'ayagala mwenna mukikole. Abazadde beeraliikirira nnyo obutabeera na bazzukulu. Of course, you're multiplying. That's how we multiply. But I have seen people put themselves on pressure because of Anna. I've not seen my father put himself on pressure. My mother, I've not seen her pressurizing us. I've not seen that. Nze bakadde bange abali nabo bayinza obbabuulira. But I've seen my relatives putting themselves on pressure on my behalf, on behalf of my parents. I have seen people in church put themselves on pressure on behalf of me. But right now, none of them wants to talk to me. But when it comes to marriage, now I'm important. I'm like, you put yourselves on pressure for me to get married. That is the only area you want. My health is none of your business. Israel multiplied. Ebyange sibanyumiza mbiveeko. Nedda Israel temwamulabako. Musomako musome. Kamba reality y'ekintu osobola okukitegeera. Nze bwentyo wentegeera when I sit in people's classes. I love examples. Nenkitegeera. That is me. Okay. There are people's classes I enjoy so much because they give you live examples. Nova mu class ng'otegedde obuzibu bwe tulina. We always attend classes and we leave nga tetutegedde sitaani nabba ekigambo. Abasoma bagenda ne bakozesa oluzungu oluzibu zaawu zaati ayogera ku Ibulayimu. Ibulayimu yaani? Ibulayimu avaawa? Verses 7, but the Israelites were prolific and increased greatly. They multiplied and became extremely strong, so that the land was filled with them. Verses 8, now a new king arose over Egypt, who did not know Joseph, nor the history of his accomplishments. Kati. When nafuluma eggwanga, let me give you an example. When I got out of the country, because I have a time difference, there is a big, huge distance. Because I work with people who are not good communicators, it felt like I was erased. That's how it feels like. And in this season, my friends have done it in an amazing way to show me that, Esther, you're not here. So we substituted you. And some people decided to demote me here and there. So they substituted me. Waliwo ebintu bye neewuunya. Yusufu bw'afaanana. They substituted me ne ku birthday yange. Abantu ababadde nga waliwo omuntu nga waliwo ebintu by'otosobola kwerabira. Abantu b'empita mikwano gyange bataano bange. Olaba ekyo ekintu kya birthday kitono. You know birthday is a gift. Ne beerabira birthday yange. Naye nga abapya be baakalaba babatinkiza ne babapostinga ne ku statuses. No kati kankikube ku reality kubanga olina abaana abagenda okuyita mu kintu ky'okoze abantu abalala. Those are seeds. Nze nfa ku baana bammwe kubanga bwe nkutunuulira ggwe taata ne maama muli banafu. mwagala nnyo okubaagala muli banafu toberangako weka toberangako mu situation ng'oli weka kati gwe tokibaddeeko naye abaana bo bagenda kitukako mama wange ne taata wange tebayiseeko wempise nabo baayita walala kati ate bo tebakula na bakadde baabwe kati ate eyo nze simanyi yo butakula na mukadde wange wooyisa omwana wo tagenda kuyitawo gw'oli ne bakyali bo muli museri mukwano mu buli famire eriyo omuntu abaddeko yekka naye ate abamu babeera bokka just for 1 year or 2 years because of school immediately they get married obulamu ne butandika ne buyingiramu omuntu omulala. When I was leaving the country waliwo nangamba Esther, I am sad because you have left the country when you're not married kubanga alina kye yali alengedde. 2 is better than 1. Tulina abantu abalina we bayita naye nga teri abayamba teri abategeera. Me, I hate it when someone shuts you up ng'oyogera ku nsonga ali mu nnyumba ye n'omwami we, ali mu nnyumba ye n'abaana be, ali mu nnyumba ye n'omukyala we. Abasumba mbatunulire manyi abasumba balina ebintu ebyogera nesirikirira bwe nti neŋŋamba mu covid buli omu yakwata abaana be n'abajjayo gye baali. Covid ono ayina ebiwundu byaggudde bingi. Oli mu nnyumba n'omukyala n'abaana, oli mu nnyumba. Bw'obeera ng'oyagala okuyamba omuntu jangu ku ground kwali Yesu gye yakola. Katonda yakka. Israel Katonda yakkanga n'ajja ku ground yaabwe. Mu Old Testament yakkiranga mu kire. Bw'oba oyamba omuntu olina okukka ku level ye. Ffe bwe tuba tuyamba abantu osigala eno mu katuuti waggulu gy'oleekaanira. Olina mukazi wo, olina abaana bo. Yesu olina ebizibu ebikubye, wawasa olina emyaka emeka? Bw'oba onoobera kansola, simanya kanso. You need to come down to people's level. Katonda bw'aba yakikola gwani. Muwoza kimu you don't have time. Nga Katonda we mugenda omusabiriza tabagamba nti talina budde. You represent God in all aspects. You're in God's image. What does it mean to be in God's image? Abantu tebandifudde depression. Abantu tebandifudde mental issues. Zirimu bloodline zajjamu zitya. It is because whoever was around them did not pay attention. They don't have time. But when someone dies, you have that time. Omufumu mwagazaaki. I've been telling you this the whole season, and I will repeat it. Siva ku kintu omwoyo omutukuvu akola ati. Nomanyi neewuunya abantu abasoma Bayibuli nga boogera ebintu ebimu nesirikirawo nti neŋŋamba mmwe mutusomesa ebyawandiikibwa. Omwoyo omutukuvu akola atya? Addiŋŋana ekintu n'akujjukiza n'akubuulira ne by'otomanyi. What is reminding? Omwoyo omutukuvu atuula mu ffe n'afuga. Ewuwo omwoyo omutukuvu yaweta. You don't have any sensitivity whatsoever. Okimanyi nti eyo trait ya mwoyo omutukuvu, sensitivity? Ekikulu Esther oli too sensitive. It's the Holy Spirit that sits inside of me. Gw'owuwo omwoyo omutukuvu akola atya? Mu kiraasi mu Bible college temwabisoma PhD oyina yaki? Oya theology sorry. Ate erimu bamusoma history wa Bible. Sorry. Temba tebabasomesa serving the Lord. I am sorry, sometimes I forget. Nempalampa amasanyalaze ne gakobira obwereere. Munnagge munnasonywa. Manyi sometimes sibitegeera ndi awo nkwamu bigwe nange. Nesirikirira ne ŋŋamba oba onooyamba omuntu jangu ku ground ye. Naye otudde mu ggoloofa gy'oyogerera. Alina mu kitanda gy'ayogerera, alina omukyala wali n'abaana baleeta akatunda. Gweno akati ng'okaaba nnyo. Kati obadde oyagala tusabire ki? Nze Esther nkyakubira abo abantu amasimu okunsabira tebakulyanga ebinusu. Kanumbe Yesu njasabayo ebigambo byange ebi. Time agirina omuwa kirabo kimu kya 10 eyo time bagirina. Hey, mama. Ani atayagala kuzimba golofa? Ani atayagala kubeera n'ekkanisa ennene? Ate munnange kirya. N'abaali tebakirina baakifuna. Nga tannafuuka musumba abeera ayagala nnyo abantu, abeera n'obudde. Mbadde mmanya ate bw'ofuuka ate kigenda ku level ndala. Eyali ayagala abantu kati yawasizza. Munnange nali mmanya ate bw'owasa ate gy'osinga okwagala abantu kubanga kati awo tuba tugenze mu level ya reproduction. Maama obwasingo ndowooza oba tuba tweguya nnyo simanyi kiri mu kiteeteeyi kyeru ekyo. Olugezigezi lutambulira mu kiteeteeyi ekyeru. Akasuuti ako omusajja kayambala. Omusajja naga toddangamu okwogera. Pastor nanga kati owasizza olina okukitegeera, olina okwawula. Oyo omusajja gw'oyogera naye mwana muto. Yagenze okuwasa nga takiraba. Emikwano ne gifa. Businesses ne zifa. Omukazi ajja oyo mukwano gwe simagala n'oyo. Maama oyo omusajja okimanyi nti ayimiridde ku mukongo gwa mukwano gwe. Why do we teach our children to make friends? Tugende maaso. Yusufu tebaamumanya. Yusufu bwe yafa ne bye yakola kabaka eyaddawo teyabitegeera. Teyamanyako oba bannaffe bakola ebirungi tetubiraba, tetubyogera nako. Lwakolayo ekibi bw'ati. Mama! Ebirungi tubiraba ng'abikoze awo bwe biggwa. That is it. Kasita oggwamu nga tuweta. Yeah. Kolayo ensobi egi ojja giwulira. Ndaba abantu nga bakanda. Nze mukwano bankanze. I talk out of experience. Naye ng'omuntu tasoose kuddayo mabega n'agamba naye lwaki Esther yakoze bw'ati. N'ataatuukirira kumbuuza. N'atowa order. Abamu bamanyi n'okutuma abantu to tell me off kubanga yatya okuŋŋamba. N'atowa order. N'ensooka n'ensiriikirira nze omanyi bwe mba how God has helped me to heal is by going back in my history and my memories and the things that I've done with different people. That thing has helped me so much to forgive people. Right now, I'm just teaching you to help your children. I'm giving you the medicine I have taken. To forgive people and love them, that even when they approach me and they have challenges, they need help, I'm always willing and ready to serve. Because I went back to where we met. Before you got married. Before you had that job. Nga tutambuza ebigere. Ng'oyambadde kakonde ey'olubege, oyambadde engatta ey'olubege. Nga tosobola nakwegulira perfume ng'oli ku deodorant buno obw'2,000 obuwunya obubi. Nga buli omu akyasabiriza munne tukyeyiiya. Eyo gye nzira n'entuula eyo ye wali ebirungi, ye wali essanyu. Eno mu goloofa wammwe eriyo olugezigezi, eriyo okumanyiira, eriyo Yusufu kabaka eyaddako teyamumanya. My friends abalenzi bawasizza. N'akyuka ne ŋŋamba Muzeeyi twamukoze eki? Twali wano ku mbaga nga twejaga. Muzeeyi omukubira essimu takyakwata, atunula eri n'ayiga n'okubulookinga. Kati nze okuwona amangu nzirayo gye nabasanga. Nga I'm still that beautiful girl you would get mesmerized with when you find her. Eyo gye nzira kye kifaananyi kye njagala. eyo ye wali eddagala erimponyeza. Nalaba abantu be nasanga ekyambogo mu sizoni banfuukira ezzike. Oli nayimirira ku group naŋŋamba bamugobe. Ne ŋŋamba ab'emmengo. I was a girl who was everywhere. Because of the activities I did, I was everywhere because of Scripture Union. I was everywhere because of MDD. I was everywhere because of sports. I was everywhere because of leadership. I was everywhere because of family. Those are 5. Those are grounds I stand in like this, and the joy in my heart comes back. I go back. When I come to my family, the 7 years I haven't been home, but when I want to heal, I go back. When I was still crawling and entering people's houses and entering their beds. When I go back to the parties we used to have. When we've lost someone or we have a wedding and I hear the sound. Cha 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 cha, mama mama, and I would move around. That is where the love is. When it comes to church, I go back to my Sunday school days. When my father is telling me, nga batugambye tulinayo olunaku lw'abaana tugenda kukola choir practice. I was always the first one at church. Nentulaawo nembalinda. Abamu ne bajja abalala ne batajja. Then when you're done with practice at church, then we walk and go back home. One time I fell sick and we branched off. There is a home near Gavunga in Kaboa. They have guavas, agannamata. We would always branch there. Ne tubasaba ne batuwa amapeera. Ne tulyankuza. I am a girl who used to branch off in people's homes since I was in daycare. I was in a kindergarten. By the time Esther reaches home, she has visited every friend of hers that she walks with to go home. That is how I know all my friends. My kindergarten was near Faith Arena in Kaboa, that road that goes back to Freedom City. And I would walk from there back to Najanakumbi on Wamala Road. Those who know Shanks VVD, we were neighbors. Those who know Pastor Chris Gom, and you remember where he used to stay in Najanakumbi. There is also a Muslim school. They wear the Somalis, they wear the green uniform. After the power station on Entebbe Road, on Wamala Road, the only house which had it Tegula on Google. Unfortunately, Google should be having it, but it's no longer existing. The famous home. By the time Esther gets home, and every one of my parents to my friends would be, and I'm like, and I would walk, and me, I would not talk to strangers. I did the same thing in my primary school. By the time I get home, with primary school, Mama almost beat me up. I have a best friend. I love her so much. I met her in my primary one. My dad would always look at kids like I do. He pays attention. So one day in the morning, he finds them and he tells them, I know your school. Can you please go with my daughter? There used to be 2 boys and 2 girls. Their big sister died when I was in senior 1 in 98. She was called Wasa. She was in St. Stella Maris in Sube. She had a tumor on her head. She was in her primary 7 when I was in P1. So I used to work with Brenda, Arnold, and Andrew. Then along the way, we met Peter Mugish and his brothers and his sister. And there were some 2 boys, Hassan and Wumalu. And we would walk. By the time you come from Najanankumbi to Chitevide and boarding primary school, my friend, that's a distance. I walked for 22 years. Remembering is important. That is where I have gone back. People tell me when you grow up, you change. You change to what? Do you become a kangaroo? God wants to use us, but you're going to go back to the first love because we no longer have the first love for Jesus. That's why we don't love people. We are just using Jesus as an ATM. Help your children. Someone who doesn't remember, they don't say thank you. People who don't remember forget people. Each one of us is stepping on a ground that is not ours. Some of you, your marriages, it's a connection. Some of you, your jobs, someone saw you and connected you to someone. How do you use your network system? People who are blessed will connect you for the rest of their lives. People who are not blessed, they are stingy. It stops with their small nuclear family. Then they use other people to get what they want. Those are people who are not blessed. A blessing goes for generations. I come from a blessed family. My great-grandparents loved. When you love people, God blesses you. People they don't know. They raised many people. I have my friends whose grandparents got things because of my great-grandparents. We have conversations, and they are like, I thought I knew you, Esther, from school, but as things are getting out of hand, I'm like, welcome to my world. Because when your parents or grandparents are in a leadership position, they know very many people. When I was at the university, I went back to do my master's. I met a man, he died in 2018, called Dr. Albert Rugumayo. I was talking somewhere and they told me, that man's father studied with your grandfather. I looked to the other side, I had to hide and I was like, why? That man loved me so much. Dr. Albert Rugumayo loved me in a way I did not understand. I was a class coordinator when I was doing renewable energy. He was teaching us energy efficiency. And I was coordinating between him and the students. He introduced me to one of his daughters. Do you think he does that to everyone? I was recently talking to some 2 months back, they told me that man's father was studied with your grandfather. I was like, hey, manak. Your bloodline and friends and family. There are people who studied with my grandfather, and I met them. Their family members studied with my grandfather, and we became very close and friends. When I don't know where the link is, I have that thing of, I'm like, why is it that this person feels like I know them? Now it is with our children. Our children are going to meet somewhere. You don't tell your children where to go. Joseph, he did things for Egypt. But because people forget and don't talk about people, when you die, you're gone. Some people even cover your work and take credit for it. You can imagine it has happened to me when I'm still alive. Now when I go, even let us even live going and dying, 7 years away from home, it feels like I've never been home. People to talk about you. Ooh. If you can do that to someone who is breathing, now when someone dies, that is why people are profiling themselves, so that they leave written things behind. People have done things in people's lives and people forget. When they get up there, they start eating food from Egypt because they are in Egypt now. They forget the door they entered. They forget the door that was opened. I, Esther Solome, I cannot forget. the way I came to the US, I know my journey very well. I know every detail. Unfortunately, it's on a sad note. And I told God, allow me never to wear such shoes. When you give me, when you build me to a level of now I can, when I have settled completely, allow me never to behave like that. I know my journey of school. Who paid what? Who bought what? When I go to church, I know the men and women who sacrificed to make sure I turn out to be like this. My Sunday school teachers, 2 died. Because of the father who died, I reconnected with one of my Sunday school teachers who died. Her auntie is married to the late Dr. Baker Nkata. She loved me so much. The other lady loved me so much because I was active in Sunday school. Ekirabo kyo kikuseguliza. I am a girl who has been loved, by the way. That is where I go back and my healing comes faster. Because I remember I might be neglected now, but because it is you who changed, I never changed. I never left my position. Whenever you leave your position, you miss out on God. By here I go, you see Esther, when people get married, they change. That is why you're missing out on God. Did you become a kangaroo because you got married? Did you become a kangaroo because you went abroad? It is still the same small body that you have touched it. Some of you have bleached it. The girls have put on fur coat. The boys are looking over how. You change to what? Esther, people change. Change to what? Unfortunately, you change to looking like the devil's child. I thought when you get married, 2 nations come together and you build an empire. You actually easily work well with people when you're married. Because your heart is in one place. You're no longer looking this side. I tell this boy is telling me this, I tell this one, I tell this girl is... No. I thought that marriage licenses you to know how to work with people. Because you're building an empire. You need people to build an empire. That is why you tell people to come for your functions. Have you ever cooked food and you look at it and you call people and they don't turn up? That is how important people are. I pray that the Lord opens your eyes to see beyond your nose. You love to be helped. You love to be remembered and loved and appreciated. You love people to remember the good they've done in your life. Do you get time to do the same? Do you reciprocate? Joseph, the king that came on the seat, that means they did not talk about him and remember he was an Israelite. He wasn't an Egyptian. Socialism is still on. Even today, socialism is still rising. It is on the rise, my friends. Socialism is on the rise. Because why would he forget him? Do you know what Joseph represents in Israel? Did you ever just have socialism? It is still on, my friends. You come in, now if I dare come back home, I am scared. By the way, I have phobia. I don't have to lie to you. I have phobia. I've seen hatred on their phone. I have seen hatred using their phone. Now I have a lot of phobia, man. I have a lot of phobia. Right now. Leave me alone, I have phobia. I am telling the Lord to deal with that phobia. I'm phobic. I'm phobic. I'm a phobic. I'm people phobic. I am people phobic. After you disrespecting me in your phone. I am people phobic. After you blocking me. Then I find you on the street and you're smiling. I am people phobic. I am telling the Lord by the time I come home, I will not be people phobic. You know, when you become phobic, you cannot do certain things. You end up just hiding. You know, I once told you, I'll teach you about time. Why people abroad close people out. Because people have forgotten. And you see, why is so and so not talking to their people? It is because they've gone through this and no one has ever addressed it. They go back home when they can't fit in. Their friends moved on. I hear you're not here. That is why you're not. I was like, really? With these phones that came, these earphones, this man created the apps that can make you walk as if you're on ground with the people. But because we've not loved God enough to understand who people are, you want to be understood. You want people to do what you want. But for you, you don't put in time to understand people. And you want to be my leader. Ooh, mama. That's why people abroad are like, you know what? Unfortunately, because I serve God, I cannot behave like that. That is the challenge we are having. Because if God takes you somewhere to work for Him, you don't choose who to talk to. You don't choose who to help. I wish I can do the same thing the way you're doing it. Those who changed, I hear we changed it because I got married. Then you're not serving God. When you are a president of a country, you're serving God. Authority comes from God. And people are like, wesiba ku bantu ekikulu oyagala ngende kunte nze siringa nga ggwe ekyo kye kitawula mwannattu. I'm in God's image, and those in God's image, they have to be served because God sits in their lives. Continue. Ojja kuntegeera mpola mpola. Because when I come here and I teach and I tell you these things byemukola ebitali birungi abantu nga mutandika ye Esther akyali depressed bambi tasonyiwanga. Sweetheart, simanyi ani yakuyigiriza forgiveness, simanyi ani yakuyigiriza the word depression. Ngate you're the one who causes the depression in people's lives. Yegwe, we need to remove the jig and we remove nechibondo so that the jigger does not sit in there and you happen to be the cause of a jigger. Oyina ensekere n'obugina tulina okubugyamu kubanga obugina bufuuka ensekere gwe majiga obugina. We tuba tunyiga ekizimba tulina okugenda ekyaleese ekizimba so that tekikomawo. Wafuuka ekizimba ekireeta ekizimba, you're the cause of the kizimba. Bakubuuza lwaki siriimu yakukutte kugenda nga weebakabaka nga tolina condom kati ye problem tukuyigirize nti no sex before marriage, abstinence. Early pregnancy, how do we avoid early pregnancy? We go back to the root cause by starting with the parents of the children so that we can solve the issue of early pregnancy. So, what is the cause of depression and mental issues in people? People themselves are the problem. How do we do that? Should we isolate these people who easily get depressed? How do you know that someone is going to get depressed? We go back down there and we teach people how to love each other. We teach them the love of Christ, the real love of Jesus. Because for us, we love people when they've done stuff for us. When someone is not doing anything for us, your next CEO. Because you did not raise kids like that. Tata, when we were growing up, he said you greet people. At first I was like, naye nomusajja tukoya kati nze ngedde nga mbuuza ekkubo lyonna. Because wofuna ekizibu mu kkubo mwoyita mu bagenda okutaasiza. Bagaye mukwano ng'olabye bakuddukirira ogenda kuba enduulu abantu baveeyo. N'okubuuza obubuuza kizibu kyo. Or was that I have my personal person? Your personal person has no access to countries. Your personal person bw'asaba tebikola. Kubanga abeera atamidde buli ssaawa. Katonda agenda okujja agamba yeye ng'essaala tezirina we ziyita. Mukwano fe bw'ogamba mbusimanya you have your personal person. Fe ebintu twabirabadde. Abo ba personal person bwe kikulyanga badduka. Ani awuleeta obusente bwe abeera awakuwa obusente bwe buli ssaawa. Personal my foot. Bwe kikulyanga baweta. Joseph baamwerabira. Ekyo kikulaga abaana b'abantu bwe bafaanana. But Joseph naye yali muntu. We all have feelings. Omanyi nina eri abantu amalala. Esther okolera Katonda ali mu nju ye ne bbaawe. Talina na time yange olw'okikuba essimu tabeera available. Everyone needs people. What makes you think that I don't need people? I should be isolated. We can do that on phone by you saying hello, replying back. They don't teach you these things. They don't teach you how to communicate. They don't teach you communication skills in your so-called Bible schools. They don't teach you how to love people, how to work with different servants, whether you know them or not. They don't teach you who a human being is. A human being has a soul, a body, and spirit. They have emotions. They don't teach that part. They removed it from your syllabus. On condition you preach the word and we say, preach, preacher. It's about ululating and saying you're great man of God. You know that word woman of God, it sounds so ridiculous in my ears. Because I didn't grow up hearing it. I am sorry. I hear woman of God. I'm like the others became what? The one who teaches the word is the woman of God. As you were not calling me that thing 7 years ago. Not even 7. In 2019, as you were not calling me that, you were calling me my name. What happened? I changed it to what? Now I'm the woman of God. Then I wasn't a woman of God. I was a woman of who? You can think is continue. You copy and paste things. Before I came to this place, as I wasn't the woman of God, I was what? Mundeke mu mwana mukoperera ebintu byammwe bibayambe mwekka mundeke. Yes. Abantu bakuwa false respect. Ebyo bye byonoonye eggwanga. Because love yaffe ya kibogwe bwe flipping bwe going down like that. Kwegamba love eri awe kola bukozi wetu. We nali nga sinnajja wano saali woman of God. That is me. I reason. I ask and I'm like, before I came, I was not woman of God. Before I came active on social media, I wasn't woman of God. Omanyi abantu batingiza ne bakuteeka mu kifo gy'otalina kubeera just balina engeri gye batuwanika eyo. Kyobola wanagamba nze tomputa musumba sibimanyi. Kubanga si buli omuntu abamuyita musumba. Ebyo birabo Katonda abigabira babeera aba. kyendi nkimanyi naye tokimpita nga tebannaba kunkuwole oyagala kunkubya kibooko. Kibooko y'abasumba eyita oyagala nsange nga ndikambumunze musumba nange bankubiremu mukano ndeka njagala bakitaawo ne bamaama b'omwoyo bababalule. Kibooko the season y'aba leaders. Eyo kibooko yaabwe sijagala. Njagala balye kibooko yaabwe bulungi. Buli omu naafunye tobalaba kwekweka. Yusufu gwe tuliko because people forget. Verses 8 of Exodus 1. Now a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph, nor the history of his accomplishment. Why was he not knowing? My friends got new friends. And they don't tell their new friends who I am. Their new friends ne balyoka banninyirira. Eriyo eyo abamanyirira eyo bampalampa. Kati abamu ng'amannya gaabwe g'abasiraamu. Kati neesirikiriramu weeti neŋŋamba. Kati neŋŋenda ne nnoonyereza eyo ne mbuuza ne ŋŋamba nange gundi mulokole oba. Ne baŋŋamba yasabira wa musumba gundi ne ŋŋamba y'oyo mulokole. Ajja mu kabokisi kange n'ammanyira n'ampalampa. Waakalaba abantu. Emyaka gye nnina ntambudde n'abo abantu nga bamu batodira. Naye olw'okuba kati be bakyaliwo. Ntambudde n'abo abantu nga tebannawaasa, nga tebannazaala, tebannagaggawala, talina mmotoka, terinamuwa mulimu. Nyabo. Ne ŋŋamba kindidde, ne nkola nti nagumawo bugomi, ne neekweka. Nekola nti ne ŋŋamba afudde. Ne ŋŋamba oyo yajja okuwalampa nze mu kabokisi kange. Ng'ate byenkola biyamba bo. Ne ŋŋamba kindidde. Era omulimu gwe baali banjagaza ne baweta. Kati I am rubbish. N'okumblocking abamu ne bamblocking. Ne ŋŋamba Yusufu. Ekkanisa ekyali bubi. Verses 9. Kati nno waliwo abalala oli yabagamba stay away from her. Bonna olundaba nga baweta. Ne ŋŋamba ziganye season naye ate leero nga kigenze wala. Bano bamanyi gye balaga bano. Olowooza Isirayiri yali amanyi gy'alaga. Abakulembeze hello. Verses 9. He said to his people, behold, the people of the sons of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. They greatly outnumber us. Kati ate yajja na jealousy. Mwanattu, mikwano gyammwe abapya, all they've come with is the jealous card. Waliwo abayingirawo sibalabangako nga ye kimubazaringa lwaki njogera n'omuntu we gwali naye ku ground ate kati nga ye mukwano gwe. N'akola kyonna ekisoboka mukwano gwange gwe mmanyidde emyaka nkyawe. Ne ŋŋamba ate ono ng'agenze ku level ndala. Ne ŋŋamba owange, you think you can fit in my shoes in that person's life? You think you can do what I have done there? It is well. Please, you can enjoy. Omanyi nannyini nnyo bw'afuluma ebikere nga byeraga. Eminyanga gibuuka. Ne ŋŋamba waliwo ate bye tutagenda kukola. Bwe nafulumira eggwanga nali sweetheart. Yes, we are living a live example of the things we read about. Ne ŋŋamba abantu ne batandika okundaba nga bwe nnina olugezigezi lwaki yamanyi byonna bwe nali ku ground. Ebyo byabeeranga mu mitima gyammwe okay. Kabaka omupya yagamba teyamanya Yusufu ne bye yakola. N'alyoka agamba bano. N'alyoka the taskmasters, hello to all slave masters out there, hello. Kati nno Yusufu yali afudde. Nze nkyali mulamu. Jindid. My pastor, my spiritual father said when I was leaving the country, my home church, he said, now Esther, You're the Yusuf in your father's house. I was like, Musumba. In my heart, I was like, Musumba. Yusuf was not only for his father's house. That name, I'm not called Yusuf, I'm called Esther. I looked at him, and my heart was not happy when he said that word. And when authority releases a word, careful. My friends, when a pastor releases a word, when a mother, when a father releases a word, when a president releases a word, careful. I'll tell you the reality of it. When an intercessor releases a word, intercessors released words that I am mad. Trust me. The whole of 2020, you have no idea. When my friends release the words, the leaders, the fathers and mothers, nyabo. Yeah. As authority comes from God, the mouth, the tongue. Hey. And when authority says, oyo bamugobe, mukwano, tolina kyakola, you have to go. They have the power. Power. Continue, Joseph. The next king was like, my friends, we need to do something about this. Teyamanya na katonda wa Yusufu tebamwogerako, bakwano bo tebagenda kwogerako nebyokoze mulamu bwabwe, bagenda bitulako. Balyoke batule mu group balyoke bakuswense bulo kitegeere. Kati nno bandikikoze ng'ofudde. Kubanga Yusufu singa yali akyali mulamu yandirugudde. Naye bakikola ng'okyali mulamu. Weesibe bbiri lokoka nywera. Nze kyempiseemu toyinza kitegeera. Buli omu alina waayita. Kati guno omulembe gwaffe si gwa Yusufu. Era Yusufu n'amala ajja ku mulembe gwaffe ajja gweri tamanyi kozesa na ssimu. Ku mulembe gwaffe Yusufu cannot even last a day. Oweewuunyanga generations. Nasirikanga ne neebuuza ebibuuzo ne ŋŋamba bano natambula nabo ddala ddala, is this a friend? Muyina abaana mpozi. Okay. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them so that they will not multiply in the event of war, join our armies and fight against us and escape from the land. Naberanga avaayo bwenti nga nasuze bubi nnyo naberanga avaayo bwenti nsobole okutereera mu bwenti nendyoka nsanga ekika ku ssimu kyokka ate nga essimu gye nina okukozesa okukola emirimu gya Mukama ngamba nfuta. Olina avaayo bw'atakuwemula n'ayogera ekintu ekikumalako laavu olina akuddako emabega. And the challenge is when your spiritual antennas are like tea. Ngamba Yesu nkoze ntya. People have made meetings abasumba bammwe bataata ne bamaama ab'omwoyo. You're joking. Nesirikirira wenti ne ngamba yahe. Kati abamanyi bakadde bange ne gujja bagira. Tatanga ine ekintu kye yayitamu during his time. Omwava ebimuluma. Hey, don't joke with serving God. It can be amazing. When God chooses you, I want you to be careful. Tell the Lord to deal with your spiritual man, to deal with your soul, to deal with your body. From your head to your feet. If you're not careful, you'll never serve God. Because inside there, the private wing that the congregation does not see, when we come out, everything is well. Inside, When the doors are closed, yeah. And these people don't uproot the roots of the words they exchange. And it affects God's work and hits the church. I warned pastors last year that when you're fighting, don't involve us. Don't involve children. I am not going to hate your kids because of you. In this thing, we need to see who is mature enough. Galatians 4. You, as a parent, you can't apologize. I will teach your kids to do so because I don't want them to be stains. Because the devil is looking for where to hold on to. Because I want the offended and the offender to go to heaven. That is the work of the bishops, of which most of our bishops are not called by God. They are bishops because of skill. They are bishops because they are old in age. They are bishops because they have stayed in the ministry too long. Some are bishops because they bring the biggest tithe according to your church programs and your church goals and the way you do your things, the way you understand what church is all about. I think you subtract the Bible when you're doing those things, choosing administration for the church. Because the people who are in administration, my friend, whatever I'm telling you, no one will ever tell you. The administration of church, the way they choose them, when they do things, I just want to run away. I'm like, what is that? When I don't understand, I ask and I don't fear. I'm not a slave. I'm no longer. It's not disrespecting. The challenge you have. Toyagala kwata wali echibigo ita disrespect. Soma Bibilia yo. Authority comes from God. It doesn't have age. I look at some people and I'm like, when I look at someone doing their thing and they show me that this is my territory, I keep quiet. When I came to this country in the church where I was going to, I did a lot of keeping silent. When I opened my mouth, take cover. They would get mesmerized when I opened my mouth. Those who watch me, up to now, they've not recovered that I can talk. I came in when I was sick, and thank God I came in when I was sick. Because expressing myself was hard. I chose to keep quiet. There were many things that were done and were not coordinating, and the pastor didn't know that his team that he works with does things that destroy people and throw out people out of church. We had a conversation in 2020. And I told him, sir, you're winning souls and bringing them inside. But do you know that people are sick inside? That is why the church is not filling up. Because people around you, the so-called armor bearers, the so-called leaders, their character is throwing people out of the church.